The way we operate, I don't think is normal.
Trauma response.
Yeah, trauma response.
So Payton, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You're a creator. You have this amazing podcast.
I've had a lot of mental health struggles throughout my life. I'm trying to separate it from who I am, but it's honestly led me to a lot of neutrality. Growing up, my dad was a fighter pilot. I was born in a military base, and I recently learned that whenever you were born, you kind of inherit your dad's nervous system at the time. That actually makes so much sense. I've gotten to know people on so many different socioeconomic levels. I met great people everywhere. I met shitty people everywhere, but the way they approached life and having this particular safety net, it makes such a difference.
When did you register depression, anxiety?
Tried medication. My eyes opened to how people live when you're balanced out. I am not a person ever who has ever jumped out of bed for literally anything.
I never felt like I had a will to live.
Yeah, truly. There is this feminine energy zeitgeist going on. As a woman, it's made me kind of confused. I came to the realization through therapy that my relationship, I can make it whatever I wanted.
So I think feminine energy is just being authentically aligned with yourself.
Do I lean more on the feminine range? Yeah.
You have to kind of accept the darkness around who you are to be able to not sit in it.
My marriage was a commitment and a love to an imperfect person. And I realized you can just do the same thing for yourself.
There's a suicidal bitch in the back of the car and she talks sometimes.
Yes.
And I just have to be there she is again.
Going through that kind of process so many times in my life has made me live better, because when you don't really want to be alive, you're okay, well then if I don't really care to be alive anyway, live you don't give a shit. Suddenly you're the most engaged with life you've ever been. I just see myself as very, very lucky.
You're listening to How I See It, hosted by Han. You guessed it, that's me. I am here to motivate and inspire you with guests from all different industries and backgrounds. So get ready for personal stories of success, of growth, full of highs and lows, and of course, unapologetic realness. This is How I See It.
I am so excited to introduce Payton Sartain Ross to the podcast. And if you don't know her, she is an influencer, entrepreneur, and the host of Note to Self, a podcast all about getting to know yourself, creating the life you want, but realistically, which I love. So Payton, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. I feel we've been following each other, but never have gotten to know each other. But I feel we're very similar in a lot of ways.
Okay, yeah. It's interesting because we could not know each other, but there's so much information about you on the internet and so much information about me on the internet. Or I guess we kind of put it out there for ourselves. So you do feel you get to know someone.
Yeah. Well, and I'll never forget, and I brought it up when we ran into each other this week at Fashion Week. I will never forget when you commented on my story for my New Year's Eve episode last year. And mine was a little bit doom and gloom. And you were okay, thank God I'm not the only one that's posting something real as fuck and not 10 ways to walk into the new year.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel since I've had a podcast, I've actually realized oh, I actually do feel doom and gloom around the new year, every single year. I'm damn, that last year sucked. Okay.
No, I feel this last year was really tough for me. And I think I the mental health person in me is every, moment in the gutter leads to growth.
Yeah.
But I'm not feeling super positive after this last year. So I feel it's just a new era of my healing journey, for lack of a better word. And I'm just trying to roll with being honest and realistic about it.
Yes. I mean, I am very, very honest about everything. I've had a lot of mental health struggles throughout my life. I'm trying to separate it from who I am. It's just something you experience, but it's honestly led me to a lot of neutrality. So instead of needing things to be good and needing it to be I'm at rock bottom and now I'm going to rise, I don't even need to look at it this needs to lead to something good. And I feel that's also just getting older. I'm in my early 30s now. I'm sometimes things don't lead to something good and that's also fine.
Well, I mean, I talk a lot on the podcast about perpetuating your own misery. And I think you just get to a certain point where you're oh my God, I'm just going to choose not to give this charge right now. And it's harder on some days.
Yeah.
I'm over that. And I think for a while in my own journey, depression and anxiety was so much a part of my identity. And I think a huge part of my healing and the initial step into kind of looking in the mirror was this shouldn't be who you are. This is just a part of your story. Do you feel the same way?
I do. I mean, I grew up in a family though where a lot of people experience this. It's really generational. And I don't know anything about the genetics of that. And maybe it was kind of more of we branded ourselves as that and then everyone experienced it. I'm not really sure. But it was my brand for a long time. Not talking about brand in work ways. It was branded onto me from someone else, or others. But I don't know. I feel like I experienced it. I think we all experience some things. I'm also of the mind that like I've gotten extremely lucky in my life where with like just being born in the place and the way and all the things that I've had like the privilege to just like have given to me.
Yeah.
That if this is my thing, I just accepted a long time ago. Like, fine. Like what the big problems in my life thus far at 32 have come from really internal problems, which is honestly like kind of lucky in a way.
Yeah, it's hard in this day and age because it's like there's so much going on. There's so much hardship. I grew up in such a privileged environment and family, but it was really hard. It was a very chaotic household, a lot of childhood trauma, and I experienced a lot of mental health issues. And like I'm trying to work on in therapy, like having more compassion and feeling like a little bit bad for myself and like not feeling shame or guilt for that while simultaneously like acknowledging that I have privilege.
Yeah, no, it's weird because I went through the same thing where I'm like, shut up, basically. Like, you're the easiest life ever. Shut the fuck up. But like, when you have these like weird demons, like my friends, I have a friend who's like this and she calls me a somewhat tortured person. And I'm like, yeah, and I don't know when it ends. Like, does it stop?
I think it's like accepting that it doesn't. And I think that helps the tortured level go down.
Well, it's why I like so much art. I mean, I love like modern American literature, for example. And the reason I loved it is because it's just these people are like obviously troubled themselves and it's kind of funny. Like everyone's kind of poking fun at it. So I don't know. I think it's a lifelong journey to just get used to it. And I realized kind of a while ago that my brain was just doing something weird. And I was able to be like, that's that thing again, like that weird thing that it does.
Okay, well, speaking of that, take me back a little bit. So obviously you're a creator, you have this amazing podcast now, it's such a big community, but like where did you grow up and how did you kind of get into this space of even wanting to start posting online and start a podcast?
I've lived so many places. I feel like when people ask me where I'm from, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you because I'll say like I'm from Texas. But then it's like, okay, we'll talk to someone and they live in Philadelphia. I'm like, oh, I lived in Philly for 6 months. And then I lived in LA for this and I lived in DC. But growing up, my dad was a fighter pilot. I was born on a military base. My little sister was born on a military base like 4 years later. And we were kind of bouncing between bases in the Panhandle for the first like 8 years of my life. The Florida Panhandle, sorry. Anyway, that was a whole ordeal. And I recently learned that there's finding evidence that like whenever you were born, like you kind of like inherit your dad's like nervous system at the time or something. And I'm like, that actually makes so much sense. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's
I like just you just blew my mind a little bit. I was like,
I don't know if that's true, but I follow some like genetic like researchers and stuff on TikTok. So I don't know. Take that with
I think generational trauma, like there's so much evidence around it. And I think it's the same thing. Like if your parents are conceiving you in a not good place mentally and their nervous system's out of whack, like that's going to,
I mean, he was like really a fighter pilot, like really in it for like 12 years. So we lived in Florida and then we moved to Houston, Texas. My parents are from Texas, so like they really wanted to go back. My dad switched planes in the effort to like join the Air National Guard and kind of like be home a little bit more because he was on deployment a lot early in my life. But right around that time, 9/11 happened.
Wow.
And I feel like 9/11 affected so many Americans of the time, but I knew that life wasn't probably going to come for us for a while because then everyone went overseas and to, war, which started my obsession with like kind of like foreign policy and stuff. I was always wondering what he was doing over there and he would come home and just like not say anything, which obviously now I know like
why
respect, like do your thing. And then post-military, we moved to Fort Worth, Texas.
Wow.
And earlier in my life, we had moved so many places at that point. By the time I was 12, I lived around so many different types of people. We lived on a military base, essentially in what is government housing. My parents were really young and the military offers a lot of like help with families and stuff. So we had like our housing and we were on base with a bunch of people kind of in that world. And then we lived in Houston, Texas, which we were like truly in the middle class, like just a simple American life. Went to like a public school down the street and all my friends' families were just like, doing well for themselves. Very normal though. I would say very normal American upbringing. When we moved to Fort Worth, Texas, I became privy to the information that my grandpa he's been in oil my whole life, but he has an oil company. He created it when my mom was in college, around when I was born. And they became a bigger part of our lives, a bigger influence in our lives. And my little brother was born. He's 12 years younger than me.
Wow.
And we just started a completely different lifestyle than I had ever seen. And it kind of hit me like a truck. Like I was just like so weirdly shocked. We went to an unbelievable private school. We lived in a house bigger than a house I had ever seen, any house I'd ever seen in my life, amongst, I mean, a lot of like multi-billionaires in this area. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like wealth beyond a normal amount of wealth.
That's crazy going from like, not like bad government housing, but like a
Yeah.
government military
Well,
base vibe to
and
that.
so many different types of people. Like I feel like I was around various types of people in the Florida Panhandle. We moved to Houston. It was very diverse and I got used to that. And then I moved to this specific area of Fort Worth. And it's just like, have you seen the show Landman?
No, but I've
It's
seen
literally,
the commercial.
that's, everyone's in oil. Everyone's adjacent to that. It's just so much, just like almost like gritty Texas version of wealth. But that really changed like my outlook on everything, because I feel like I was old enough to understand life before and then there was like life after. And I say all this to say like I feel like I've gotten to know people on so many different, I guess, socioeconomic levels. And when I went to Fort Worth and I went to this really amazing school, which was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Like this school changed my life and my parents, I think, got their money's worth. So anyway, I just like became, I guess, very free at that point. I was freaked out first, but I think I was very just like, I don't know. I felt very lucky.
Well, it seems like it like fed into your curiosity. It seems like you like, naturally are that person.
Mm-hmm.
I felt the same way growing up in Orange County,
Mm-hmm.
like very bubble, very like religious, no diversity of the mind either. And I was always very existential. Like I always knew from a young age, like I thought everything was weird and I was going through a lot in the house too. So I was very tortured from like ever.
Well, I was kind of looking at these people like, y'all are so lucky and you don't even know it. And this is not to be like me being humble, because then I totally fell for it. I'm like the kid. I'm like taking my mom's credit card to Target at 16 and being like, I actually need to go on a shopping spree. And like, I needed my Neiman's account. Like I fell into it, but like
of course
at first, and I could always kind of remove myself from it. I ended up going to college and studying politics. I did not want to pursue.
That's so funny.
Really?
Yeah, I did poli-sci and sociology and English.
Same. Well, not English. I did poli-sci, sociology. And sociology was just because like I kept taking the classes because they were so interesting.
Them. Well, especially coming from Orange County, I was like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Well, you
this
like
is
to
amazing.
see reality. Yeah. You're like, damn. Like it took me like one sociology of gender, even as a woman, and sociology of race, religion, those courses. I'm like, damn, I was sold a lie.
One of my teachers was obsessed with the Matrix and like would play it all the time and like make us write like dissertations about like comparing it to like our socioeconomic classes and like environments and traditions. I think it's like for the tortured existential.
No, for sure. And that's what this school did for me. They were very like, I mean, this was like pre-college, but my high school was more difficult for me than college ever was. I went to Texas A&M and it's a good school. I had studied politics there. Was like, I'm not going to law school. There's no justice in this world. And I can't live with that. Like I cannot go to work.
Too. That's so funny, dude.
I can't go to work and be privy to that information and then go home and be normal. Like there's something about it. I have a weird justice thing. Trauma
response.
Yeah, trauma response. Anyway, I ended up starting a blog to get an internship in fashion PR. This is when I was a junior in college. So this is like 2015. Anyway, I start this blog. I get an internship. It was kind of random, but I was just like trying to do anything to get me out of the poli-sci world and kind of build a resume pointing to something else. So I could finish school, but then go do something else. So I ended up interning in Los Angeles for Love and Lemons. Mm-hmm. This is also like when they were like the Instagram brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had such a fun time. Like I would outreach to different influencers in the LA area at the time, or I would be like modeling the clothes, or they'd send me home with clothes on the weekend and like help me take content and stuff. It was such a dream. Anyway, fast forward, I start realizing that there's so many girls in LA doing this fashion blogging thing and like actually making money. And I got back home from that internship. I was there for like 6 months. And I was like, Mom and Dad, I'll finish school, but I'm going to be a fashion blogger and I'm moving to Los Angeles. And my mom, of course, is like, yeah, do whatever you need to. My dad was a military man. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like he had no faith, like at all.
Oh, my parents thought I was fucking crazy when
he thought I was insane. And my friends also, like some of my good friends obviously were supportive and stuff, but so many people thought I was the weirdest person ever. I was in College Station, Texas with my tripod out. Like imagine how like embarrassing it is to take photos now when everyone's doing it. Like I looked like a freak. And I had no following. And everyone's like, what is she doing?
Wait, I love it though, because I always say that like if everyone thinks you're crazy, you're probably onto something.
Yes.
I mean, it's so oversaid, but you kind of have to die on that cringe mountain because like if you believe in something, you kind of have to like work for it.
I was just like, I'm doing it. Like there was nothing stopping me. I don't know what it was. I was just like, I need to do it. I've seen these people out in LA doing it. And of course it hadn't really hit Texas yet, obviously. So
we're trailblazing.
No one knew what was going on. But I think that my point in even bringing up my background and everything is I think moving around a lot and feeling like I was always like observing, it made me like more removed from a group. So like I also struggled a lot with being pretty excessively bullied because I moved so much. And I was kind of more removed anyway. But like I wasn't the person that really let it get to me. I honestly was kind of like, okay, fuck you.
You're like, well, you're proving me right.
I don't care, whatever. And I've always found really amazing friends. And everyone who any time in my life, quote, bullied me, either like they obviously ended up being horrible people and like karma got them, or they ended up wanting to be my friend. Anyway, my point was I was removed enough and like, I guess observing people enough to feel like, all right, if I am not accepted into this group, if they think I'm weird because I'm using my tripod, like I already know how that feels. Like I already did this. I've already been a new person. I've already like done all of these things. And in going back to what I said about my grandpa and having, you know, a lot of success in his life, he came from absolutely nothing. So I feel it was a mixture of me not really caring because I always felt kind of out of the loop, and me understanding what my life was and then what it became because of him, and me kind of being like, all right, well, I see all these billionaires around me in Fort Worth. They approach life differently. Their family has success and they build success on top of it by taking risks and doing things that like you can't necessarily do unless your family can like pay your rent while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I had that opportunity. So I moved out to LA and I was like, all right, my parents were like, hey, we're not funding your lifestyle so you can have just like a fun fucking time in Los Angeles. They were serious about like wanting to know what I was doing and understanding the business of it all. But I moved out there. I was so privileged to have their help. And that was also, again, like I said, part of fueling me to make the jump, because I'm like, if anyone can do this, it's me.
No, I feel the same way. My dad grew up very poor, started his company when I was growing up, and like he didn't kind of like quote unquote make it till I was like in high school. I think like that's when I noticed that like the big jump for his company. But he was always very much like, you ran out of your allowance, figure out your gas. Or like I moved to San Diego and like he made me get a full-time job in college. Obviously he paid for my college, but he was like, if you want to go out with your friends, you want to buy clothes, that's on you. Like get a job. And then when I graduated and decided not to go to law school, because I was just honestly didn't want to go to law school, and I was so fucking depressed that like there was no way I was going to be able to do it. I was like, no, I'm going to like throw myself into trying to do this. I totally can do it. I want to make people feel seen. I love fashion. I'm going to take a year and pitch. And he essentially was like, you have the year. Like, you can work for me, quote unquote. And I did, but you know, I was getting paid way more than I would for what I was doing. Did that
as well.
But he kind of gave me that like timeline of like, okay, I'm going to give you this timeline. And I'm really thankful I had that, because like it was a privilege and I used it. But there's a lot of people in my shoes from Orange County, especially, who had the same opportunities that like didn't do that either.
And I think that's the thing. Well, there's two parts to this. Like one, I feel so lucky because my parents they're perfectionists. Like my dad was at the top of his thing forever. My grandpa was. Everyone is very serious about sports and school. Like that is the thing they do. Everyone plays also like mostly into like college sports. Actually it's today, Friday.
Yeah.
My little brother is starting his first college baseball game today, I think.
Friday the 13th.
I know. Scary. We're
this is
rebranding
good tortured
it.
Energy together.
It. Like, right? So anyway, I think what I find to be so helpful is a safety net. Like there were rules. My parents weren't like, we're never like a buying designer kind of family. Like they were like normal about a lot of things, but like invested really well in education and things like that. But I think that safety net really is the thing that made me feel comfortable enough to go out into the world. So that's the thing I'm so thankful for. Like I knew I wasn't going to risk going hungry, or I wasn't going to like not have healthcare. It allowed me like this pressure to get it done without like fearing for my life. And I feel like that's one thing I noticed growing up in so many different places. Like the people in the panhandle of Florida whose families lived in trailers or in government housing, or the people in the middle class that I was friends with in Houston, or the people, you know, in Fort Worth who were just rich as shit, basically. I didn't think that one was smarter than the other or one was more interesting than the other, to be honest. Like I met great people everywhere. I met shitty people everywhere. But the way they approached life and having this particular safety net in a lot of ways, it makes such a difference. And it also reframes the way they thought about going to get a job. Like my friends in Houston and in Florida, when their parents told them to get a job, they went and applied for jobs. In Fort Worth, like at my school even, like someone's dad said get a job, and the kid made like a company for like yard work, and he hired his friends. They got an old truck, they put signage on there, they like did yard work around the city, and then they expanded and did like window washing, and then they expanded and did like firewood, and then when they got old enough and they were leaving, they would sell the company down to the sophomores or something. And that's what they literally, like when their dad said get a job, they're like, oh, I guess I'll build this company real fast, because it's what they'd seen.
Yes.
And their parents had a little capital to help them. And it's just, it was so interesting to go through so many types of places in life and notice that everyone was kind of the same. It really was a lot of these external factors.
Yeah.
Again, people don't get this opportunity. So many people I know are smarter than me, and they will never get this opportunity because they just weren't lucky enough at that time.
No, yeah. And I think it's so amazing how honest you are about it and like unapologetic about like sharing. But I also think you had to move so many different places and become actually really resilient. And I think like resilience at such a young age in that way kind of makes you a little bit fearless as well. When it comes to like going for what you want, you're kind of like, well, you know, I've had to do all of these things at such a young age. Like nothing kind of scares me anymore. So it seems like you always had like kind of that mindset too. But I can imagine it was like really hard on your mental health though to move around that much.
Yeah, I think when I was young, it's just the way life was presented to me. So I didn't even notice. Like obviously I didn't love it when I was leaving my friends or something, especially at that time when like we had like email, or like I would literally make my friends and I would email back and forth. Like they moved from Florida. I'm like, email me your stuff. But I feel like it's just the way life was presented to me. So I never really saw it like any different. But now I honestly like, we move so much with my husband's job now that I think it really prepared me for that. And the military we moved less in the military, but the military is so much harder and way worse than like Major League Baseball.
Yeah, because you're not going to like cool major cities or games.
No, and like we can pay for movers. Like if we want to move something, like Joe, we can ship stuff. We pay for movers. We ship our cars. Like it's easy. We get an apartment. I know it's going to be somewhere nice and safe, and it's going to be fine, right?
Yeah.
Like the military life was just not the same. The moving was not the same. The guys are off literally at war. I'm like, Joe goes and plays baseball. They play a lot of games. Like they play a sickening number of games. The season's so long, but like he's going to Pittsburgh for 3 days to play in baseball games. I'm like, I can handle the moving. I can handle you being gone.
That's
for a couple days at a time.
Okay, so when did like you notice, as someone who like, it seems like you were always just been like existential and like thoughtful and like thought provoked by things, but when did you start noticing like there's something different about me? When did you register like depression, anxiety?
I always knew, and my mom always told me, like my family was very open about stuff like that, but they never like went and had me diagnosed with anything. So my mom's thing when I was young, she was like, I think you're on the spectrum. And I'm like, why didn't you go and get me diagnosed for that? It is hard, especially with women, to like kind of really pin that down.
Yeah.
But there were so many things thrown at me. She's like, maybe you're bipolar. Maybe you have, I'm like, babe, just take me to someone. Okay, we don't need to guess.
But it's also kind of hard. Like she's like speaking that, not like that it was malicious, but like speaking that stuff over you too at a young age.
Yeah. But she was also super young, so I don't think she knew what was going on.
How old was she?
She had me when she was 21.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then my dad was gone all the time. So it was literally just me and her a lot of the time, and with a lot of other moms in the same situation.
Like she hadn't even had time to self-reflect yet.
No, and my brother's 12 years younger than me. He just left the house. She just stopped being a full-time mom.
Yeah, my youngest brother is 9 years younger than me.
Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like they're my child. You know? Like Brooks is my child. No, but I got on medication when I was 19 because it just hit a point where I was like, I gotta try something. And people in my family had been like, we have done this, so like you should try it. I tried medication, and my eyes opened to how people live when you're like balanced out hormone wise. And I'm like, holy shit. Or like neurotransmitter wise, I guess. I was like light as a feather. I was like, this is amazing. And I always thought I would like miss like a darker part of me. I didn't. I was having the best time ever. I was like, this is living. Like I was loving it. I got off the medication though because I went on a study abroad trip and left the medication on a plane this whole ordeal happened where I had like severe withdrawals.
No.
I couldn't get the meds in Florence, and it was like the kind that worked best for me has very severe withdrawals. So I was having like horrible, like nauseous, and then brain zaps, this like really crazy, like neurotic feeling that
That's
makes you really
traumatic.
nauseous. It was horrible. I was in Italy, like trying to figure out where to go for any of this stuff. Anyway, so I got off of it because that scared me, to be honest. But that feeling has stuck with me, and I'm like, okay, I can almost identify like when it's happening now in my brain. I'd be like, these are your ruminating thoughts, or these are you being way too overstimulated right now, or whatever it is.
Well, I think like that awareness is super important because like even for me, like I didn't realize how much I was just ruminating, spiraling, how negative every thought was coming in. And I've always been like, again, like very introspective and self-aware, but I wasn't registering like how much I was, again, like perpetuating my misery. And, you know, I've never been on medication. I've also never been diagnosed. I don't know if I need it, like
I
ever.
don't know. I'm gonna go see someone soon. I got on my husband's health insurance now, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go make all the rounds.
Do you feel you need it? Like
I
the
think
confirmation?
I don't know. There is something, I can't remember what it's called, but there is something to being able to label something.
Yeah.
Part of me, again, though, because something's wrong with me, I'm like, well, we don't really know. Like, these are just names we're making to theories. So, like, maybe it'll help. But I do think understanding what depression and anxiety was very helpful for me. I don't think I have depression and anxiety. I think the depression and anxiety is a symptom of something else that I'm dealing with. And I think naming it would be helpful. And I know that is helpful for some people.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when I watch TikToks or something or read anything about any kind of mental disorder, I do relate to like things that people with, you know, autism spectrum disorder have, or bipolar disorder have, or some, like, I know that there's some kind of through line there. So it's nice, I think, just to steer you in the direction of like, if you need help in the moment, because sometimes I'm just like so overstimulated and I can hear everyone talking and I feel like I see the world from like a bird's eye perspective.
We're literally
sometimes.
like the same person. It's so funny.
It drives you insane.
I knew this was going to happen. Though. I was like, this is going to be a fun episode for me because we're literally the same. But I think that, and again, like, I don't know your like complete story and I don't know the things you've been through, but like, I think a lot of it for me and the reason why I haven't felt a need is because I feel like there's so many moments in my timeline where I'm like, yep. Like, that was fucked up. That was fucked up. That's why I'm kind of like this.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it's like, it was so, I believe, like rooted in trauma things that happened that has like resulted in me like kind of struggling in the ways I do. And so I'm like, I don't know if it's like gonna change like the way I feel. But something you said on your podcast recently that I like loved is you were like, I struggle with depression sometimes. You were like occasionally or every day. I don't know. Can you please expand on like that feeling of what you're talking about? Because I think it's very relatable.
Yeah. I think there's obvious times when you're depressed. Like I'll look back and I'll be like, damn, the past couple months, like I'm in a depression now. Like I know it and it creeps up on you.
You look at your apartment and you're like, I'm in a manic episode.
I'm stressed. I think last year I was really in a bad place and I thought I was managing. So that's why when I looked back and I was like, oh damn, the last couple months have been shitty. I'm like, damn, you were really depressed actually. And I couldn't really tell. I always have something there. Like there's always a cloud of something. I'm always like having to find the will to do things.
Yeah.
Which is why I also lean on like luck a lot, where I'm like, I feel very lucky and I'm going to, do luck as a sport, additional luck in my life, going to find it. I feel like that's something that's motivating to me. So I'm finding themes that make me want to get up and get out of bed in the morning. But I am not a person ever who has ever jumped out of bed for literally anything. I could be horizontal and lay down all day, every day. I'm like, is this like an energy level thing? Do I have a disease that I don't know about? Again, that's what I'm going to make the rounds with this new health insurance.
I love this. I love this spiral right now.
I'm something is wrong for sure.
For me, I never felt like I had a will to live like, ever.
Truly.
Seriously. I always say here, like, you know what you're getting. I'm morbid. Like I haven't. And it was like suicidal ideation, suicide in general, depression, all of it was like my story for so long. And I think like this podcast and like building my community is like the only thing that has like ever lit me up. And now I do wake up and I like get out of bed and I'm like so happy to like work all day.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I like recently went back to therapy, took a break for a bit, and because I was in it for so long, like so intense. And I was like, I'm good. I can like focus on my business or whatever. Decided to go back. And we've been talking a lot about just like the podcast and my socials, how that's almost become a crutch too, to like exploring more emotional depth within myself and like vulnerability, because I am an intellectualizer. I intellectualize everything. I don't know how to like even feel that deeply in my body, and that's something I'm really trying to work on. Do you feel the same way? Do you think sometimes like the intellectualization and the existentialism gets in the way from you kind of like going deeper into the body?
Yeah, and my friend pointed this out to me, I mean, years ago. She was like, "You're just an observer. Like, you're not here. Like, I'm always looking in on something." And I think it's helped a lot in my life, but I do it to my own self. Like, I'm observing myself. I'm taking in that information. I'm drawing conclusions. Like, that's just like how my brain constantly works with everything.
Yeah.
I think it's what drives me so crazy. But my husband and I have been in couples therapy since like kind of before our wedding. I'm very into, I mean, therapy. For me, talk therapy stopped working a long time ago because I'm intellectualizing and I realized I wasn't processing. But I think I really realized it during talk therapy, because my husband, Joe, is not a communicator of his emotions, but he is a processor. He gives himself time to process. And I always thought, well, I'm communicating and you need to communicate. And I had the revelation of I need to process. You know what I mean? Like I'm holding on to so many things because I'm not processing. And I feel like sometimes I'm not taking part in the emotional side of my life.
It's hard. I feel so deeply inside about things, but I didn't realize that like I was like, you know, subconsciously protecting myself for so long that I like wasn't allowing things to like move out of the head. So it's been really difficult. And honestly, I think it's what's made the last 6 months like extremely hard for me. It's so frustrating to have someone be like in therapy, like, well, you're reciting everything like a timeline. Can we like talk about how you feel? And I'm like, I'm hurt. And she's like, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm hurt. And she's like, what does that feel like? I'm like, hurt.
Like, I want to throw up. Fine.
No, but she's like, where in your body? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just hurt. I know I'm hurt.
Yeah.
And so it's been a really weird. Anyway, my point is like, I do think like there are choices you have to make, especially in regard to depression and anxiety. And like, I think it's been for me waking up and making a choice. Like, I'm not going to be depressed today. I'm going to like think differently. If something pops up in my head, I'm going to like rewire it actively. But I think that's come with a cost because I've intellectualized so much for my depression and anxiety. And I think I'm in a good place now where I'm like, okay, you've kept yourself safe. You've really practiced some things that are like allowing you to like function and live in the world. And depression and anxiety is not a part of your identity anymore. So now you're safe to like feel, and you got to work on that.
Yeah. The feeling is the hard part. And to me, I don't even know what it's supposed to feel like. So I'm like, am I feeling? Is this feeling? I don't know.
I know. And then like, after my first, I swear this is where sometimes I'm like, do I have OCD? Because she like told me, she's like, you don't really feel anything. And then I spent like a week being like, oh my God, I don't feel anything. Is there something wrong with me? And then we had to unpack that too.
Yeah. I mean, the rumination spirals I get those too. And I actively try to change them because I'm like, if I can think all these negative thoughts, I can think positive ones.
Totally.
But negative ones, a lot of the time, that's like a safety thing. That's like, I'm going out into the world assessing risk and figuring out how to avoid it all the time. And I didn't realize I was doing that until I started dating my husband. And he's like, why do you keep telling me to not get hit by a car? I'm like, he's like, I know not to get hit by a car, but I'm like, but I just thought like, if you step out into the road and you didn't see it, like at every turn, I'm like, danger, danger, danger. And I'm reassessing. And I'm like, I have to rewire my brain. I've done a better job of it now.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
It does, but it's like you're like a safety freak. You know what I mean? Like I do that a lot, physically and emotionally, I would say.
So I have a lot of people in my life that are similar to us because I just hate surface level so much that like all my relationships need to be deep. Also working on that. Like it's okay to hang out with the simple people. And I don't mean that insulting, but I'm like, I should hang out with more simple people.
Yeah, sometimes it should be like
calm me down a little, like bring me down a bit. But I do notice that like, especially I'm like single, and especially in regard to dating, like I feel like I need someone that's like very similar, but like almost recovered, existential tortured, like kind of like
healed.
me. Yeah, healed. Because I find that there's two types of people, and it's like we're mostly women community here, but I feel like people are listening, like if they're in the same shoes, they're like, damn, like I'm the same way, but like I don't wake up wanting to like choose differently, or I don't have the motivation to. And I find the same way with like the dating scene kind of, where I'm like, damn, like I found someone that's like so perfect for me, but they don't believe they have a choice. Therefore, like, we will not work. And like, what would you say to the person that's listening? Like, well, I don't feel like I have a choice. Like, I don't know how to like get out of this dark, tortured space.
this is also me emotionally processing that kind of like out loud. But I think sometimes like, and this is what Note to Self was born on as well, is sometimes it's okay. Like sometimes if you don't feel like getting up and fucking being a girl boss, you don't have to be a fucking girl boss. Like there's no rules to say you have to do it. I would say like, for me, what's really motivated me is finding out what I want, because you can't be motivated to do something you don't want. And the world sells us all these things that we want allegedly. And I bought into it for a while. And I did a girl boss, time in my life. And it actually really helped. And
You
it set
still
me
are
onto
girl
a
bossing.
good
It
path.
just looks specific to you.
I am like anti-girl boss at this point. I'm like, stop telling me to do everything all the time. Like, I don't want to be maximizing. I don't want to be optimizing. I'm really tired. I just don't care anymore. But I was sold that for a long time, and it did energize me a bit. But I think when it's not an authentic motivation, it really is hard to get out of bed for something. So for me, it's finding like my actual authentic motivations for things and like actual things I want to do. Like right now I'm toying with the idea of going back to school because social media has not interested me for a long time. And I feel like I've just been in this, circle of like it pays well and I've done it for a long time and I work so hard to be at a place where I can get paid well. And now I'm just like, I'm miserable. And I've talked about this a lot, like openly, but now this idea of going back to school and like studying something very specific, I'm like excited again. So it's finding these little motivations. I'm also excited. Like I just got married. I was not motivated for the wedding. I actually like hated the process of wedding planning. There was something about it that I was like, it just didn't feel like me. But the marriage is something I really believe in. So like we go to therapy once a week just to make sure, like sometimes we don't have anything to talk about. Sometimes we have a lot to talk about. Just to make sure like it motivates me to be better, to be in this marriage. It motivates me to be better now, to like look to having kids and stuff like that, where I'm like, I have to like really get it together. And that's going to be a huge motivator for me, I know, because like now I can't lay in bed until 11. Like I have to get up and like show my kids how to live and how to be like a good mother. So I feel like these are little things throughout life. I feel like you pick up new motivations, and maybe you're motivated by one thing for 5 years and then you're motivated by something else for a little bit. But you'll always find a lull. And if you don't feel motivated, if you don't feel like you want to get out of bed and keep going, like you're allowed to sulk for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to make everyone else's lives miserable, but sometimes it feels good to just be like, I hate my life.
I know.
Fuck this.
Well, I'm glad you brought up your marriage, because that's one of the questions I had for you today. I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like I feel like you are kind of like an romantic relationship marriage girl.
Yeah.
Like
sometimes.
for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm too. I like want that, but I'm definitely not the girl that's like excited to plan the wedding or like into the whole thing.
I had never thought about it before because it just didn't feel topical.
Yeah.
And it is really overwhelming, like very overwhelming.
So how did that like, do you think there was a root to that? How did you like heal that part of yourself? Is it the person? Is it like just evolving with your identity?
I think it's the person. I mean, I've been out there. I mean, Joe and I broke up for like a year. I was single like 2023. And I attempted to get back in the dating scene like 6 months after we broke up. And it was horrible.
Yeah, it's single.
It's even gotten worse. Like I thought it was worse when I was like 26. It is horrible out there. But no, Joe, when I met Joe, it was a very like infamously, it was a one night stand. Like
Love.
I was ready for a relationship, but I wasn't necessarily going on dates to acquire a boyfriend. I literally was just like,
I want to have fun.
He's hot.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And we, had been texting and stuff by the time we met, because it's early 2020. Like the world is just shutting down at this point. And we're all at home just like texting hot boys and like FaceTiming them. Like me and my friends are just like, I don't know, drunk on our couch for the 2 weeks, like in the beginning where we thought it was like about to be over.
Yeah.
I ended up meeting Joe. And I mean, it was so simple. I just never, I wanted to answer his text messages, and I never wanted to stop talking to him.
I love that.
And that was like, my friends were like, wait, you're like letting him text you all day? I'm like, well, not that far. Okay. Like FaceTime at night. Okay. But I just realized it was so natural. I didn't have to try. I mean, it was just, we were a really natural match, I think. And then we had been talking for maybe a month or two. I had visited him once or twice at that point, and he started calling me his girlfriend, and then I was just dating.
You're like,
someone.
I guess that's okay.
And that was just how I didn't even think about it too much.
Yeah, that's how I am too. Like it never like occurred to me that I would want, and I think it's a little bit of my trauma showing too. Like I didn't want like a marriage. Like it was very much like, ugh, like
well,
people
you see
suck.
a lot of it, especially with the way women have been treated in general in the world by each other and specifically by men. I feel like I just saw so many marriages in my life that I feel like the woman just looked like she had no life in her eyes, and she had to do this whole like hyper feminine show to be a
Ugh,
good
yeah.
wife. It's just not me. It's not who I am. But I found someone too who like what we do works for us. Because I think I was just talking about this last night. Like there is this, feminine energy, like kind of zeitgeist going on. And
Totally.
I think like as a woman, it's made me kind of confused because I'm like, all right, well, the man should lead. And then this should happen. I'm like, okay, I came to the realization too through therapy that like in my relationship, I can make it whatever I wanted.
Totally.
I didn't need to follow all these rules. I'm a natural leader. I'm not one to sit back and be like, okay, just, you take the wheel. Like, I'll do whatever. I'm very much like, Joe, this is what's happening. And here's what's going to happen. And he makes it happen. But like, our relationship has a very specific dynamic that I think would make the people who preach like this ultra feminine, serve your man kind of thing. I think it would like really piss them off.
Well, I think feminine energy, like, because I agree with you, it's really hard for me because I'm like definitely obviously more of a masculine energy for sure.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's realizing like, when am I stepping into masculine energy to like protect
I was
myself
about to say, yeah.
versus like, this is my personality. And so I think
Mhm.
feminine energy is just like being authentically aligned with yourself. And
Yes.
so like, if you're controlling and it's
Mhm.
coming from a good place and you're just like, this is how it's done, the reservation's made, I want this to happen, like that's
Yeah.
your feminine energy.
And I think we go through both. Like I think we can go through the masculine energy. We are sometimes in the feminine energy, whatever that means exactly. I don't even know that there is a scientific
Yeah.
definition of this, but I think Joe really allowed me to lead without being like emasculated. Joe's like also the baby of the family and I'm the oldest, and
Love.
he's just like relaxed. If I'm like stressed about something, he doesn't get it. Like he genuinely is like really confused. But he also like takes orders. I'm like, I want this. He's like, okay, I'll go do that.
Well, he's secure.
He's secure. And he also, it helps that he already feels masculine. He's humongous. He plays Major League Baseball. He's like, he has all the validation of that.
Yeah.
So when we're at home and I'm just like bossing everyone around, he's like, this is great. Like, he's like, I'm right where I want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I go between both. And I think feminine energy, from what I feel like, I read a quote years ago. And it was like, it was on Pinterest. And I wasn't attributed to anyone, but it said, you are a woman, you define femininity. And for me, as I see all of this kind of feminine stuff play out on the internet that feels so submissive, I feel like it's kind of not allowing women to define it for themselves, because we get to define it. I get to say what's feminine. And I always think of like the scene in Game of Thrones at the very end where like Khaleesi has like tried to be helpful and virtuous and amazing and like help everyone until someone fucks with her, like one of her dragons, like her babies, and then she burns the entire world to the ground. I'm like, feminine energy is both of those things.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of a shitty ending to the show, but like I think they were depicting like a real feminine rage, which to me is feminine too. Do I lean more on the feminine rage? Yeah. But I'm on that side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But I think it's just such an interesting conversation. I think that too has made the way men talk about relationships go more traditional. And I think it's made them more insufferable, because what they're expecting is a woman to just be like bowing down to them. And I'm like,
well, it's funny.
Just not gonna work.
It's be ambitious, but like be there for me. Like do stuff and have motivation and have goals, but answer my phone call in the middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, why are you too busy to talk to me? Well, because I'm being ambitious.
Or
it's like,
praise me even when I'm not doing stuff that needs to be praised.
Yeah.
Like I'm very much that way. Like if Joe's not doing anything to be praised for, I'm like, what do you want me to say to you right now? Like, what do you want from me? And I'm actually working on that, because Joe, he does his best. He's a really good husband. I think also getting married really changed our dynamic of our relationship. I didn't think that it would as much, but it really has. He like has always been really good to me, but like I think taking on that role, he's done a really good job of showing up in very husband-like ways. So I am softer with him now, and I do trust him. He shows up, he does his thing. So I think that also makes it easier in relationships when someone consistently shows up. But also to your point about like depth and stuff and wanting someone deeper, I thought that I wanted that my whole life. I thought I wanted a leader, like a overt, like, we're doing this, be ready at 6. I'm not going to tell you where we're going kind of person. I'm like, oh, that'd be so good. If Joe did that to me, I would be like pissed off. I'm like, well, what do I wear? And like, I have too many questions.
Yeah.
And I want too much, like I have too much autonomy, and I don't want you to do that for me. But I think like I thought I wanted something for so long. And when I met Joe, I realized I didn't want what I thought I wanted forever. So it was also getting together with him was a point of, it was lucky because I was looking for something else. And I got what I actually needed, I think. But I wouldn't have known that.
Yes, it's interesting because I'm like, I don't know, like maybe I should be looking for a more, I don't want to say simple because it sounds mean, but someone that's not as
Yeah.
existential and dark or whatever. But I still feel though that like it's hard because I need to have someone that I can talk to the way we're talking.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming Joe can do this with you.
He can. He listens and he's curious, but he's just not, he's mentally well. And he's always been mentally well.
Yeah.
He's had some struggles with his career and like kind of being up and down about that because baseball can be a lot and he's been injured really seriously before and it was a lot for him. And I think he had to learn how to deal with these mental health issues that he had never dealt with before. And that's kind of where I came in because I'm like, oh, perfect.
Yeah, you're like,
my
yes,
specialty.
finally.
You're depressed. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, you are. It's okay. It's fine if you are. Like that you see me be depressed all the time. But yeah, I thought I wanted something or someone who could feed into that with me. And I realized I have plenty of friends who can do that. Joe, I needed more of a stabilizing force, I think, and someone who is normal. Like honestly normal.
I need to embody that energy.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to like really feel that.
Yes.
But I struggle. It's hard. I feel like I'm in a place where like, and I think this is a part of like kind of healing when you're in our shoes, but like you have to kind of accept the darkness around who you are and like kind of love it to be able to like not sit in it.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of people I experience who like can't do that. They're almost like ashamed of it.
Yeah.
So they like can't move forward and it ends up being like really bad. And
well, you
like,
also don't share it. When you're ashamed of it, you don't talk about it, you don't share it. Talking online about it has been scary, but also very freeing. Now I feel like I can talk about it with anybody, but I think when you don't share it about yourself, you don't let others get to know you. And I think had I put on a show for Joe for a really long time and been dishonest about who I am and tried to be like peppy or like super soft or
Golden
whatever
retriever.
I thought he wanted me to be, we wouldn't be in this position because I wouldn't have been myself. And it's hard to kind of fake that for a long time. So for me, I'm very open about that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm also open to like him teaching me stuff that will make my life better. I feel like we're very like push and pull in a normal, nice way.
Yeah.
Like, you know, sometimes he shows up more, sometimes I show up more, sometimes he's more stable, sometimes I'm more stable.
He's like a partner, best friend.
Yeah, very rarely am I the more stable one, but we complement each other well.
Okay, so you mentioned like talking online about like your mental health and stuff. So like going back, you moved to LA, you start content creating. Like when was the moment you're like, I actually want to start sharing more than just like fashion and lifestyle?
From the jump.
Okay.
Like I started a blog when I was in college and I wrote a lot, like kind of a precursor to the podcast, I would say. Yeah. Well, for me, it turned into podcast because like it was blog and then no one cared about blogging anymore. So you had to be on Instagram, which I like Instagram. I consume content on there. I certainly consume content on TikTok. I don't like producing short form content as much. So I needed something else. So I started the podcast after the blogging. But since I started the blog, I've been very open. And again, it's like one of those things where the way I grew up, the kind of outside feeling I always had, other than like I always had like two best friends I did everything with, I feel like I was less scared for people to think I was weird. So I just started from the jump because I'm like, I don't know what else to write about. Like I have no other skills beyond effectively communicating and sharing what's going on, you know?
And I feel like because I've been following you since you lived like in downtown LA in that like beautiful, like I loved that apartment. It was so cool. And I feel like you started the podcast kind of around that time, right?
2021, yeah.
I feel like it grew so quickly and I think it's because you were honest from the get-go and like that your mission was to like share and like make people feel seen.
Yeah.
And I think that was the mission here too. Like I always wanted to make people feel seen because I never like felt seen. But it's funny because my therapist told me the other day, she was like, I think it's really interesting. You want to be seen so badly, but you don't let anyone see you.
Yeah.
Do you think you struggled with that at all? Where like you want to like be vulnerable and you want to share and you like struggle to be seen because you isolate, but then like you're mad people don't see you.
Yeah. I think with Joe, I think to go back to my marriage, I learned that through my relationship. I think I was single for a really long time and I love being single. I am like the ultimate like pro single person. But I realized too when I was 26, I hadn't really been in a very serious relationship. And I realized like there must be something that, you know, there's things you cannot learn when you're alone. And you can get super comfortable being alone. And I was very comfortable being alone. But I think being seen on the internet is different than letting a person who you love or like care for get to know you. Like my
Mhm.
friends see me, that's why they're my friends. Like we
Yeah.
all see each other, we're fine. And I'm not really nervous about sharing that with them. But I learned through my relationship that I thought I was impervious to like being embarrassed about stuff like this. And I wasn't. So it was actually a really good practice in being like, Payton, you have to intentionally share who you are. You cannot play this game of being like the perfect girl or the perfect whatever.
Yeah.
So I think I initially saw that, but I noticed that because if when you live internally so much like in you,
Yeah.
you notice things pretty quickly. So I noticed I was doing that.
What do you think the podcast has done for your mental health? Like, do you feel like you've actually like healed more and ground through
Yeah,
interviewing and talking and building the community?
I think like I do so little interviewing. So like I feel
I
like I need to
know
get
you do
better
it
at
every
it.
once in a while.
I do
I
a lot
love
of
your
solo
solos though.
episodes. I love them. Like I move so much now. We move a couple times a year where I'm like, it's just sometimes easier for me to just get on a mic in my bedroom and be like, whatever. The podcast has just let me feel very free because you have to get on the mic, you have to say something and you can't be too boring. And if I find myself not sharing authentically, the episode's just not as good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I might as well I've done it for so long too, but like it's it just lets me feel free. Like, I feel like I don't have a lot to hide. There's not anything anyone's gonna say about me that's gonna, like, really upset me because like, I have already tackled all of these things, like, put them out there,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it has to do with like confidence, of course, but like self-love. And I feel like
Mhm.
we hear self-love all the time. Like it's like kind of cliche at this point. And to me, I just think obviously I'm so ingrained in like the self-growth, mental health. I'll probably overconsume and like
Yeah.
have to take breaks. But like it's like, of course, I need to self-love. Like I know I need to self-love, but self-love almost feels ethereal sometimes.
Mhm.
And I think it's really hard to put into practice. Like I can know it and intellectualize that I need to love myself, but
Mhm.
in action, like you can still see moments of self-hatred and like not putting myself first and like unworthiness. How can
Yeah.
you like actually practice self-love like in
Self-love.
real time and not just like this ethereal concept that we like hear all the
Yeah.
time?
Well, I actually just did an episode about this for Valentine's week.
Love.
How to Actually Love Yourself, I'm pretty sure is the title of it.
Love.
Looking at self-love outside of conceptually, I had to mentally decide it was a practice. It's something you do every single day. It's kind of like confidence, like maybe you're not really that confident, but if you act confident, like you kind of become it.
Yeah.
Self-compassion is really the form of self-love that I prefer. So instead of like again, to take it back to a friendship or a relationship, like when I love someone, when I love Joe, my marriage was a commitment and a love to an imperfect person. And I realized you can just do the same thing for yourself. Like Joe can do, make mistakes or he has trouble at work or whatever it is, and I still love him. And I feel like I've adopted that kind of thing for myself, where I'm like, it's not an obsession with self or like a vanity thing or anything like that. Because even if I don't like myself, maybe the way I look that day or whatever it is, I still love myself and I still give
Yeah.
myself compassion to like be whoever I am that day. I also think though it's because I know that I genuinely try to be a good person, so I don't need to go out and like prove to myself all the time that that's the case or
Yeah.
something. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I just allow myself to be who I am because I know I'm generally coming from a good place.
Yeah, it's like a choice you have to
Mhm.
make. And like the same way we talk about like the choice of like rewiring your thoughts and the choice to like show up and like want to choose life instead of like
Mhm.
giving up. You can choose each day to just like wake up in pursuit of more for
Mhm.
yourself, for your business or whatever it is that day.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's it's much harder than it's like we're talking about it. But
Mhm.
I think for me, it's like been choosing like, okay, hope is a choice. And
Yeah.
like I'm going to continue to wake up every day and like choose that. And maybe that's the form of self-love, like the repetition of like making the
Yeah.
choice that's aligned with my ultimate desires, even if I don't feel those desires authentically all the time. Like I
Mhm.
know and have made the choice that I want that for my life.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of tough love in my life, and so the
Mhm.
way I show a lot of love to myself sometimes is just like to recognize again how lucky I am and how absurd it is that I feel this way and how funny almost like I approach it with
Mm.
humor. So if I'm wanting to bed rot, I'm like, you're such a fucking crazy person. Like, get the fuck up. Like, it's not that serious. If you're depressed, so what? Like, what are you doing? Like, life is about play. We're here for 6 seconds. Just like go out and do something,
Mhm.
get some sun on your face. It's just not that fucking serious. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think self love is understanding yourself and knowing, again, your motivations and what makes you feel comfortable. And for me to make it kind of like a tough love, kind of like you're being a fucking idiot. for some reason that works on me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you're right, me. I am being an idiot. Like, it's just not that serious.
That's so funny.
So I think that's my tactic, I would say.
Yeah. How do you feel like on a day-to-day, like a couple practices you can give like the audience for like, let's say you do wake up and you're like, oh, it's a depressive episode day. Like I can feel it. Like, are there quick things you can do to kind of like get yourself out of that rut?
I mean, for me, I literally am like a plant. I'm like, I need water. I need sunlight. If I can go to the beach or something, that's nice. But like my dog, me and Joe always like joke about like a sniff of Winnie is just like what we need. Like I'll go over there and just like
a
sniff
newborn
her.
baby.
Yeah. Like I found my tethers, I think. And I found things that ground me. And again, I talk to myself in a way that I'm like, this feels serious, especially if you, like you discussed, like going through suicidal ideations, things like that. It is serious, but honestly, dealing with it is kind of funny to me.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't want to say it's funny. I think that's a very serious topic.
No, I get it.
For me, it's kind of funny because I'm like, you're so dramatic. Like, get over it. Like, just honestly, going through that kind of process so many times in my life has made me like live better, because when you don't really want to be alive, you're like, okay, well, then if I don't really care to be alive anyway, the one option is to do it. The second option is to just live like you don't give a shit. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do that one. Then suddenly you're like the most engaged with life you've ever been, because you're like, yeah, I don't care. Like the other option was like not being here, and now I'm just going to be here and just do whatever the fuck I want, because who cares?
Well, and I think this goes back to like the conversation around like accepting the dark parts of yourself.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, so many people have like wrote about it, talked about it, like the, you know, like viewing yourself and your thoughts like you're in the car and you're the driver.
Yeah.
And I've just acknowledged like there's a suicidal bitch in the back of the car and she like talks sometimes.
Yes.
And I just have to be like, there she is again, like
there
type
she
vibe.
is.
And I'm trying to get better at like removing the charge from that serious stuff. Because again, to your point, it is serious.
Yes.
But if you've been through like this journey, which I have for a very long time, you kind of have to treat it as something not, or it gets really fucking dark.
Yeah, well, you cannot take it seriously. It's a part of you have to evaluate better, I think. And it just helps me. And I think if you're going through something like this, you want to understand yourself and able to help yourself not do something crazy. But I think however you need to take it, like I think we're sitting here being like, well, okay, it's very serious, but whatever. Like if you're going through it, you have to find a way to cope.
Yeah.
And coping for me has been humor and being like, okay, oh, you're gonna do that to yourself? Okay, I'm sure. And I don't know, there's something about it that made me really like feel alive.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Through that coping.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, you talk about like isolating. Like you isolated a lot as a child as like kind of a coping mechanism for moving a lot. How did you kind of get out of that space where you're like, no, I need to allow myself to build community, make friends, put myself out there? So I think for me, like I've really been doing good. This is so recent, like the last couple months, something just hit me and I was like, you need to like do better at like giving people a chance past the surface level to like come in so that you can have more community.
Yeah.
Like, how have you done that in your own journey? When it comes to like, of course, your relationship, but your like friends too.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a person, I have my best friends from various parts of my life. Certainly like my middle school, high school friends, my college friends, and then my friends mostly in LA because I lived there my whole 20s. I just make my like couple best friends and we call it a day. Like I have my community. I can be like, you know, with baseball stuff, like we go to different teams, you meet different like wives and girlfriends.
Gotta turn it
you
on.
sit at the game with them. There's a game every day. Like I don't go every day, but like I'll go once a week. You see the same people. So you do become like beyond surface level friends with some of these people. I think work wise, like there's a lot of surface level because you go to an event, you talk for 6 seconds, whatever. For me, it's kind of acknowledging that I have different tiers and levels of friendship, and I find people that I like along the way every time. That's one thing I learned from moving. Like there's shitty people everywhere, like I said, and then there were amazing people everywhere. Not pressuring myself to even make a community actually makes me make better community because I'm like not going out and looking for my best friend and trying to like essentially like dating, like fill a role.
Yeah.
I didn't approach dating that way. I don't approach friendships that way. And I kind of just let it happen. Sometimes I lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin when my husband played for the Brewers. And I just didn't make community there. And it just like sucked. But I tried a little bit. It really wasn't working. So I just like, you know, would talk to my friends from afar and then like go to Chicago and see some friends or go back to LA if I wanted to see my friends or something like that.
Yeah. I'm the same, like where I've had like the same core, like couple best friends.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that like I don't have a lot of like perspective in my life. And to my point earlier, like I feel like I've been hanging around people that are love them to death and like has become family, but I feel like they've almost like fed the dark angel on the shoulder.
Yeah.
And I need to like choose more people that like see the world a little bit differently than I do, to like have some like, okay, like they're approaching this very existential thing, very simple.
Yeah.
Like maybe I should be around that a
Yes.
little bit.
I've gotten very lucky because I have people who understand me and don't think like me. So like they're able to be like I always bring up my friend Iman. Iman knows exactly what I'm thinking before I'm thinking it. She's like, in fact, she's not friends with people she cannot predict, she always says, because she like
That's so
loves
funny.
to know
That's how I am.
about her people, you know? And she's not like me, but she understands and she knows how to speak directly to me. And also she does the same thing that's like, look what you're doing. Get over it. You're like being such a freak.
Like, shut up.
She knows exactly what I need. And then I have some friends that are like a little more on the dark side. And I have some friends that are definitely like happier. Like my best friend from college, Laurel, also understands me, but she's also like, you need to get it together, bitch. Okay. Like she's so like confident. Like she came on the podcast actually to talk about confidence. I've never met a person more naturally. And I mean, like, reasonably for her, for sure, confident because she's just the best. But she's very much like sunshine and all of that, but not in an annoying way.
Yeah.
She gets me, but she'll be like, again, okay, we're shutting up now. We're shutting up now. I hear you. Let's go get a drink. You know, I've gotten lucky, but I've also, again, moving a lot and meeting so many different types of people really does like allow me to have like such a diverse and interesting set of even close friends, you know?
Yeah, I'm like, I have nothing in common. I just need to do it because I'm like, I cannot relate. I have like a couple people that like have known me like since I was younger and like they're great, but I think we're just in different life stages. So it makes it hard. Like when we catch up, it's like, cool, I feel seen, but like we can't talk about a lot anymore because like we're doing just completely different things and we're in different life stages at this point.
Well, there's also different people for different things. That's one thing I've noticed too, even again within my relationship. Like I think I love my husband. He's the best. He's one of my best friends. He's not my best friend in the world. Like that's my husband. And I just see it differently. Like he's not my everything. Love him to death. Chose him very specifically. I was very intentional about that choice. But that's not my everything. And then I have a friend who is, you know, Iman, one of my best friends in this life. But she's not everything to me either. And I don't go to Iman for certain things. And then I'll go to Laurel for certain things or whatever. So I feel like sometimes like with dating, we kind of think of friendship as like this solution of this person who's going to see us and hear us and like be like essentially one of the loves of our life. And I think that's true. But I also think even the love of your life can't give you everything. You have to build a community of people who can kind of piece in, you know, things for you.
I'm really appreciative of you saying that because I feel like I needed to hear it because I feel like I've noticed even in my own journey, like the isolation and the hyper independence because of like the lack of trust.
Yeah.
And then like weirdly enough, becoming codependent on like very specific people.
Yes.
And that was so odd for me because I was like, I'm not like this. I don't know why I like latch on to like a few, not a lot, but like a few people.
Because you feel safe. I have so many girlfriends who are like this. And I was like this too for a long time. Like we were codependent on each other. We did everything together. And then boys were like secondary because we couldn't trust them. And I don't think they're going to show up. So like I'm hyper independent with relationships, but with my friendships, I'm like codependent. Like my friend Kristen and I were like sisters for years and years and years. And both of us, like once we had a little mini friendship breakup, now we're like really good friends again. But we both started dating after that. And we were like, oh, we were just looking for everything in each other besides like obviously like anything sexual. But yeah, it was a learning curve in my 20s to stop putting so much on my friends or putting so much on my partner and really like building a community that made me feel seen and heard and all the things with various different people. Because I just don't think one person in any capacity should be your everything.
Yeah, and I think it's having to like redefine expectations and like what people owe you. And that's something I really have to work on. Like I feel like I do have this natural, again, comes from a place of just like hurt child, but it's like people need to do what they're supposed to do and like this is what you should do and this is what I do for everyone. And I'm so self-sacrificing, so everybody should be self-sacrificing. And I think it's caused a lot of tiffs in my relationships. I feel like not that I make known to them, but like in my head, there's
like
a lot
resentment.
Of, a lot of resentment. So that's been a part of I think like recent healing for me is like trying to figure out like how can I feel happy in a friendship and relationship while also letting go of like expectations and needs that are not required to like be a friend. And it's complicated.
Well, it sucks when you're a person who gives a lot and cares a lot. When you don't necessarily find people who match that energy exactly. And I think a lot of people would say like, well, don't be their friend then. And I'm like, well, then you're left with no one because I care so much about everything. Like, I'm so intense.
Yeah, and I don't think it's normal. Like, there shouldn't
It's
be
not
that
normal.
expectation.
The way we operate, I don't think is normal.
No,
and I
and
do
I
take that
think
into consideration.
love is not an expectation.
Mhm.
Like, love is given for free. Like,
Yeah.
there's not supposed to be a requirement. Of course, people should like match energy and like there should be respect.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a level of having to relearn, like, no, like love doesn't come with a cost.
Mhm.
Love doesn't come with expectations. Like, if you love someone, like you have to accept the way they show up. And
Mhm.
you have to be able to do the manual labor in your head of
Yeah.
being like, this doesn't mean this. The same way I've like filtered my thoughts around like depression and anxiety and limiting beliefs. It's like you got to do that with people, you know, assume the best in everyone
Yeah.
and that they do love you and they do care about you.
Well, that's what I mean by like, these are things I learned in a relationship that I kind of isolated from. I mean, I isolated from men a lot. I like would hook up with men, but I like wouldn't let them in because they just like freaked me out. I'm like, you're kind of for something.
Like,
I don't
can't
need you
project.
emotionally. Like, you're really annoying to me. But I feel like that was also hyper independence. I wanted to prove like, oh, I can buy my own stuff and do all this stuff. When I started dating Joe, he was like, I know you can, but like it means something to me to do it for you. So you're taking something away from me by like pushing me away and being like, I can do it all myself. And he's like, the point is that I do things for you, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, I feel like I learned, that's one of the things I learned, the hyper independence, the isolation. Those are things I noticed I was doing when I was in a relationship. Because when I was in my lovely job with my good friends and my lovely apartment, being single and not being responsible for or like to anybody, I healed and it was great and I was having a great time. But there was so much after getting in a relationship that I was really in love with someone. It really illuminated parts of myself that I could avoid if I was alone.
No real change can be made without another person.
Yeah.
And so like there's a certain level of work I had to do alone, like to function in society, because I was just like not well. I was not okay. I was like a fucking ticking time bomb. Like people would breathe the wrong way and I was like fucking deregulated.
Yeah.
But it took like someone coming into my life and like me actually realizing I wanted like marriage and like I do have feelings for someone, but like challenging me in ways where I was like, whoa, like I have a lot more work to do. We're moving into chapter like 7 of the healing journey now.
Yeah. It's been really interesting. And again, I love being single. So I feel like a lot of my friends right now are single and they just like are having a miserable time. But I don't want to talk about marriage like it's this pinnacle of whatever, but I do think it's been, and being in a relationship of any kind for, you know, a few years, has been very illuminating in a way that I think I couldn't have done by myself. But it did require me to open up and connect and share myself and communicate myself and look a little stupid sometimes or embarrassed. I mean, it comes with the territory.
Yeah. Before I let you go, what would you say to someone listening who kind of is in our shoes a bit, but maybe a little bit further back in their healing journey where they haven't gotten tested, they don't know if that's the right thing they should do, they don't know how to function with like feelings of depression and anxiety, and they're just feeling a bit confused and lost and hopeless?
I would probably say the first thing I would do, and what I'm actually doing right now, is like learning how to regulate, like process and regulate. Because I feel like, let's say I have, and again, I'll bring up the relationship because it's such an easy, like when we talk about love, this is just like the center of what we think love is. But like, let's say Joe and I have a problem. Like we go to therapy now because we were having a communication issue. And we were having these little problems, but then communicating about those little problems became the problem. Like the little problems weren't really the problem, right? It was this one long-standing thing that just I feel like didn't get addressed adequately and we didn't focus on. So it touched everything else for a while and just made every day just like annoying for a while. So we went to therapy and really dove in on this communication thing, not the communicating about a certain thing, but the actual communication. And it's really changed everything. And I feel the same way about me and myself and my relationship with myself in processing, because I feel like I put off processing, so my misery continues. And I think about it and the misery continues, and it's always there and it needs to be processed. I need to be regulated, but I am intellectualizing and understanding, and it puts off that healing truly. Like I feel unhealed. I just know what I need to heal better, but I haven't healed it. So I feel like focusing on nervous system regulating techniques and actually processing things is where I'm at. Now, how do you do that? that's also what I'm personally in therapy for.
Well, and it's going to look different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to your point, and like kind of what we struggle with, like I've learned that like you don't have to voice everything to everyone all the time. And that's like a way you've protected yourself and you're like coping with like, or you're avoiding not trying to feel or process.
Yeah.
So instead of calling someone or like trying to talk to the person that like wronged you, especially in like romantic dynamics, you gotta have to sit with yourself and just like deal. And after I've done that, I mean, it's kind of anxiety inducing at first, but after I'm like, okay, I don't even need to bring this up anymore.
It is crazy to like be like, oh, that was me regulating my emotions for the first time.
I know.
At like the ripe age of 30, I was like, wow, I just regulated something once, but it touches everything. It's same with the communication and relationships, your processing of your feelings and these emotions and this energy. It touches everything that you do. So I feel like that's the most important thing.
Well, and I'm trying not to like feel bad about it too. Because I think like our brain immediately is like, oh my God, well, that was so stupid. I can't believe that, you know, or I'll tell my therapist like, oh my God, well, like this shouldn't be happening. And she's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Babe, no.
Well, again, everyone has problems. Some people have this problem, that problem, whatever. This happens to be mine. And that's what makes me feel like okay with it. Because I'm like, you do so many things right. And you try so hard and you do this for your friends and you show up and I do have good things about me. So if something sucks, then that's fine.
It can be perfect.
Like it's fine.
Looking back at just like what you've been through, like the ups and downs of your career, the podcast, but your relationships and the moving and your childhood, like just kind of like looking at the full picture, like how do you see it? How do you see it all?
I just see myself as very, very lucky. Like I just think that I just got a really like great deal, and stuff when I was younger was a little bit stressful. Certainly like having a parent go into a war zone consistently is extremely stressful. That's not I didn't realize that until later because again, I just thought that's how people lived. I had no idea. But I feel like I don't really look at my life and think it's this huge epic journey and all of these things, but I feel like it's just good for me and I've learned a lot. And I'm trying to look at all of it like an experiment or like play or something.
Yeah, but I think that's beautiful, especially for people like us, because like having and finding joy in the mundanity, I think is the epitome of like doing the work.
Well, that's what your life is, you know? And I do a lot of that. Like I buy my like beautiful French press, I have my little coffee, and that has to be enough. Like those grounding things for someone who can be very complicated or dark or whatever, like those things have to be made enough, you know?
Yeah. Thank you so much
for coming on. Thank you for having me.
Please share where people can follow you and then obviously the podcast and listen to the podcast.
So you can find me on Instagram at Payton Ross, and the podcast is called Note to Self by Payton Sartain, which I need to change at whatever point I get to changing my name officially.
Oh, thank you, Payton.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you leave here feeling motivated and inspired. Do not forget to rate and review the pod on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and don't forget to follow How I See It Pod so you can keep up with podcast updates and see who's coming on next. And if you're not already, come join the fam and follow at How Han Sees It. Thank you guys.